Italia!
Milan is everywhere. Hey, how's it going? It's probably not your most favorite uh, Milan fans in the world, but anyway. So yeah, we're back to you this week. Quite a bit to recap. A lot's happened. Keepers have been sent off for basically kneeing other players in the face. We haven't scored in Europe again. Uh, yeah, but we're actually top of the Serie. Yeah, so yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. So I guess starting with you, Husni, how have you been?
Sorry, I muted and unmuted myself. I've been good. How's everyone doing? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you. Okay, go for
Okay.
it.
Yeah. 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 Sorry, I've been good. How's everyone been doing?
Yeah, good. We're alive, top place, first place, but there's a lot to talk about, isn't there?
Mm. Yeah, I think it's been interesting, especially just the way that the schedules are kind of going, right? Because there's like a game every 3 days, so it just seems like even if we don't do a pod for like a week, I mean, we're kind of missing 3 games essentially. So
To be honest, I
it's like,
can't remember the first game that we were about to talk about. I can't remember
yeah,
in that much of a detail.
yeah,
I
this
feel
is
like
the
so long ago.
problem. Like, yeah, it's kind of like short-term memory is a great thing. But yeah, so I think the last time we spoke, we were kind of leading up to the Lazio game. We're kind
Yeah,
of unsure about how
yeah,
that'll go. So I guess it makes sense to kind of kick it off there.
yeah. Fair enough.
So I guess John,
Um,
do you remember this game?
I do remember this game, man. It was. I'm just trying to bring up some stats on it because I was. I remember before the game, we basically said they've got a decent midfield, they've got a decent way of playing, decent manager. They could do some damage. I think that was the thing that we spoke about. Um, but actually, on the day, one thing that absolutely struck me is that they did not come to play. They came and basically allowed us to completely control the game. They never came near our goal. It was, I'd say, the easiest game we've had this season. Now, I don't know if people agree with me on that, but I was very surprised. It was, yeah, I don't know. It looked like they were scared to even come at us, and we bossed the game. We scored 2 goals. I'm just trying to remember now. I'm just trying to bring them up. So it was Pulisic again with the
Yep.
first goal in the 60th minute, Leao assist, and then the second goal was Okafor, as you said there on 80th minute, and the
Mm.
assist was from Leao. So, but it was a good game. If I remember, Adley played well, and we actually looked like we were gelling very very well, and no problems whatsoever with this game. It was very. I was actually more thinking, where's Lazio gone? You know, I their midfield looks completely destroyed, and I know that they've lost SMS. I didn't think losing one player would ruin their squad so badly, but it kind of looks like they've got nothing there. I know that in the Champions League they won though, didn't they? I'm just trying to remember, guys. Do you remember?
Yeah, they did, which is extra embarrassing for us. I know, like I know the quality of opposition that they're playing against is markedly different, right? I can't
It was
remember who they're in
Celtic.
the group with
It was
as
Celtic.
much. Celtic, but like I mean, the Scottish league just it's bordering semi professional at this point. I'm sorry for Celtic or Rangers fans, but um, and it's not like they're winning them convincingly, for the most part. I
It was
I find
extra
it hard
time
to
goal,
believe
if I
that
remember.
everything's related to SMS though. It's
Well,
like as good
yeah.
as he was.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
think that Shane, but I think their midfield is. There was nothing going on against us. There was literally nothing in midfield. We were doing as we wished actually, and almost the thing about it was strange that it took us that long to score a goal because we could have punctured through whenever we wanted. That's how it felt with that team, and I think I invite any Lazio fan to say otherwise. It was such a one-sided game. It's a really pleasant surprise for me. I haven't been that comfortable since we beat Roma until we went down to 10 men. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
that level of control. Again, don't know. Husni, do you agree with that or?
Yeah, I was worried about when we were about to play them because one thing about the team that start poorly, you're always wondering is that when are they going to pick up their win. Usually they pick up the win against us. This is the one thing that worries me. And what I saw from Lazio at the beginning of the season is that they had, they made some moves in the market. So like Guendouzi, I think he plays for the French national team. I don't think he's a starter though, but he's usually as part of the call up list. Providel, who I rate very highly, and I think I actually had quite a number of saves against us. So he somewhat did his job, except for situations where I don't think like the any keeper would have been able to save the goals. But yeah, I didn't expect us to really be that dominant. But I just want to point out that the goals that came were essentially the same move. Yeah, so it was a Liao speeding on the left, cut back, and the goal just came in. First one I think was a Pulisic goal, and second one was Okafor, and Okafor was a bit of, could you call it a deflection though? But essentially the same thing. So yeah, I very happy with the points. And one thing I do want to point out is I think this will help set up some of our next few talking points throughout the stream. There was a moment in the 52nd minute. I don't know if you guys remember. Calabria got in a bit of a heated discussion with Kier. So Kier was playing, something that doesn't happen very often. But of course, no one published it. But I remember the timestamp very clearly. 52nd, sorry, 52nd minute. If anyone goes back to that, look at how Kier is interacting with Calabria. I think Kier was telling Calabria is that, why does he look so confused? He's actually telling where to throw the ball, someone throw in. And Calabria was like, oh, I think I want to pass it back or play it from the back. It was a little bit hilarious. So that was one thing that was exposed. And I guess on a positive.
Oh, we lost Husni there. Yeah, gotta love free technical issues. Oh, sorry, Husni.
He's
We
back.
lost you
Sorry,
there
yeah.
for a bit, man.
Where did I cut up?
Oh, just
I think
literally a couple of seconds. That's
Just
all.
literally,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So on a positive note, there's see more of Yasin Adli. I think Andy Nagy really, imposed himself. We saw a lot of the passes, something that we haven't seen before. So again, when we speak about the next few games, I think we'll speak a little bit more about Yasin Adli. So yeah, I mean, Shane, do you think that we are maybe a little bit predictable? And you could say lucky that Lazio couldn't really counter Liao in that way, because we've seen other teams, and I think that happened a little bit on the in the next few games that we speak about, that once you close off or you're able to body Liao, you can essentially like stop that that sequence of him setting up that cutback and scoring his goals.
Yeah, I think overall, we were, professional. I think Lazio just seem to be broken right now. It's kind of hard to put it's kind of hard to understand why. Maybe it's Sarri ball. This weird thing that happens with Sarri where he's okay for like a couple of seasons, but then it's like the intensity required of playing in his style. It's like the players just kind of get over it, and then he kind of loses then he loses the dressing room. But okay. Yeah, but okay, all right. Yeah, so I'll look into that. Sorry. But yeah, so overall for me, I mean, it was a good, well taken 3 points. I don't really have any, any great hang-ups about the game except the points that it was like mid-afternoon. And it's like, come on, guys, can we not do a bit better? You know, I mean, mid-afternoon on I think it was a Saturday, right? That's like, I hate those games so much. I mean, I always prefer us playing at night. But yeah, so if you guys want to continue there, I'm just going to check something out in the background.
Okay. Yeah, there was another theme about this one. It's that Theo got a yellow card. And that's going to lead on to game after game after game. We're in the 8th game of the season. And as we have to have a discussion about Theo's yellow card collection. It's
Yeah,
really... Yeah.
One thing I want to ask you, John, since you brought up Theo, is that Theo usually, when we speak, very highly of him as an attacking force, I haven't seen that in a while. Meaning that I haven't seen him, doing those darting runs, cutting in, either the assist or the goal. We know he's perfectly capable, but I don't know. Is it something to do with the formation?
That's a good question. I have wondered, Husni. You know what? You've brought up a good point here. I've been wondering this too, but it's not about Theo. I've been wondering about Leao, actually. I remember that in the 4-2-3-1, Leao seemed to always be rampaging forward with Theo together, right? And I feel like right now we're relying a lot more on Leao being able to smash through a lot more defensive lines. And I don't know if that is the formation change and that's affecting Theo as well. So, Hasni, I wonder if the two are related, where because we're not playing a 4-2-3-1, we're playing a 4-3-3, it's not just Theo that's been somewhat blunted. Leao is really being relied on to do a lot of individual work down the flank, a lot more than usual. Now,
No, but the contribution is there, John. Yeah, he had assists during
Yeah.
this game. But then
Yeah.
you also got to ask is that his assists are actually going to our right wing. So our right wing now is overperforming. Okay. Is that make sense? Yeah, our right wing is getting onto the score sheet. So is it because, and okay, let's say that our right wing is new, and in terms of dynamic, I think that's something we haven't seen in a while. Is it because those players are more used to 4-3-3 than Leao is, or maybe like the rest of our team? Because we've been playing that 4-2-3-1 for a long time.
Yeah, I reckon, Hasni. So I'm trying to remember the Pulisic goal. Was it not that he came near the center of the box to take his chance, where he finished it off? Am I right in
Yeah.
saying that? So he's drifting in, isn't he, from the right hand side into the box, and so I think we're just flooding the box a lot better because we got more attacking players. That's my personal opinion on that. So Leao is finding targets and is not just having to rely on Giroud all the time as being that target. But yeah, I don't know.
John,
Tell me.
I just had a really interesting thought there.
Yeah.
So you know the way I was being a bit down on Chucky?
Yeah.
So because the problem is for me, it's kind of his output seems to be a bit lacking. But the big difference between him and Pulisic kind of makes sense with what you just said. So Pulisic does kind of actually come in a bit more, and he kind of finds himself in goal scoring positions a bit more, whereas Chucky doesn't, because I think he's a bit, I think he's a bit like he doesn't have the experience, I guess. And I think that probably makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
maybe that does make sense. Maybe because Chucky's more of a winger who will stick to the wing, as Pulisic is actually more naturally is a left winger, so he'll come in towards the left when he starts on the right, and so he's finding himself in the middle of the box. That could potentially make sense, yeah. But I'll be really curious, Husni. To your point about Theo and his apparent kind of slow down that he's had. I kind of would be curious once Benacer comes back, what happens with him, and if we go back to a 4-2-3-1, I'll be curious to see if Theo's game changes somewhat. But it's a really good point. But it did occur to me the other day is that I feel like, you know, what we said at the beginning is we've got so many more players who are helping the attacks now, which is great. Um, it still feels on so many games that we're relying on Leao to create these chances almost out of nothing. But now, yeah, we've got the players in the middle that can take those opportunities. But I still feel like there's more contribution to be had there. We've lost Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and there's no denying it. Musa's done a good job. He's done a solid job. But Ruben Loftus-Cheek is a different animal. He's a much more mature player who was really doing things that were quite special. And Reindeer.
Well, we'll figure out with Reindeer, right? We'll talk about this later on in the Dortmund game, but we know what Reindeer isn't, and he's definitely not a number 6.
Yeah, absolutely, he's not. But yeah, Reindeer, he connects play, but he doesn't. His shooting on goal is atrocious, and we've seen it now so many times to say that the guy needs some intervention. I think Ibrahimovic needs to sit him down and show him how to, fire a goal properly. But yeah, let's talk about the next one if you want.
Sure. Yeah. I just want to add one more thing about Rangers, and I think this will help set up the next game as well. But as a midfielder, I think he has almost all the qualities that you would want in a midfielder. But let's all face it that he's not yet a complete player. So if he were just like you mentioned, John, if you're able to get the shots on target, if he's able to be clinical and get onto the score sheet, I think pretty much that's it. That's like definitely the upgrade that we've all been waiting for. Need I say is that he can also be comparable to Tonali in terms of his contribution. But Tonali had that, yeah. So Tonali, he could break up play, he could help distribute, he could score. So he also had that free kick in him. But I think it's going to be a little bit more time before we see that those qualities come out for Reindeer. But yeah, his positioning is great. He's definitely threatening. If he's able to get just that marginal bit of quality in that particular moment, I think it's easily one goal a game whenever he starts.
Yeah, agreed on you. Agree with you on that. Shane as well. I don't know what you thought about how we were set up for Dortmund though, because we need to have that discussion about how we were set up for Dortmund. I've got my opinion, but I want to hear your opinion first to see if there's anything that matches there, because I had quite a strong opinion regarding how we played against Dortmund. So I want to hear you guys first, though.
So I think, well, the first thing that stood out for me is I think we gave Dortmund far too much respect. That was like one thing for me. I mean, and then kind of thinking back to the game then as well, I think what was a bit concerning is Leao didn't really show up. And if I'm correct, he still got the Man of the Match award, and I don't really know why. I think so for me, I think so. Tamori, I think was really really played well, right? And I think not get it's kind of Milan fans forget pretty easily because we were rightfully slating Tamori for quite a let's say the tail end of last season and maybe some of the games at the start of this season. But when he's kind of playing well, no one talks about it. So him and Chow have been playing really well together, and it's great to see. But I think overall the way that we played against Dortmund, it's and this is no offense to Dortmund, they seem like a really well run club, and they do have a lot of talent in the attacking output. But I mean, there was like Leao was running at, I mean, what's that guy's name for Dortmund? He's like, he's defender.
Hummels, is it?
Is it Hummels, right? And now in Hummels is like, I mean, his best years are kind of catching up with him, right? Or they're kind of behind him, and you're just kind of going like Leao should be able to do this. You should be able to get past him, but just Hummels always seems to have like a yard on him to be able to just trap the ball, and you're kind of going, I don't see how this is possible. And next thing, Leao comes up with Man of the Match award, and I'm kind of going for what? I really didn't see much output. Wasn't good for me. But overall, like the results, I think it was fair. On the balance of the way that the way that the game went, I think. But again, I do think that we gave Dortmund far too much respect.
Yeah.
I think if we like, I expected more out of Pulisic going into this one, especially because we know that he did spend a couple of seasons there, and I think this would have been a good way to kind of show them how much he's improved. And we didn't see that, so that was a bit of a red mark against Pulisic for me. But overall, I think, look, it is what it is. We just have to take the draw. The lineup, though, itself kind of did make sense to me. I don't have any problem with it. I just think that we should have had enough quality to actually win. And the fact that we're not, we can put ourselves in a pretty bad position now, because we have to go in and feasibly beat Paris Saint-Germain home and away, and then be looking to beat Dortmund and hopefully Newcastle. Whereas if we got 3 points here, I mean, we're top of this table more than likely. So I mean, it just doesn't. Yeah, it's a bit concerning, but we'll have to see how the PSG games go. If we don't win those,
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So Husni, what do you think? Because I want to hear both of your opinions before I give mine.
Yeah.
So please.
Two things. So I think the positive to take is that we had the clean sheet. I don't want to underrate the clean sheet, because that clean sheet is going to be very important when it leads up to our Scudetto push. So that to me is a big positive. I was concerned because Dortmund, they had some decent, I wouldn't say that great, but decent shots on target, which we didn't have. Now coming on to negative, and I really don't understand this, and this is something that's happened quite a bit for not just last season, but many seasons before this. We are just not clinical enough. I don't understand why we keep trying to blast the ball when we are like right in front of the goal. It seems more of a shoot, but should be a tap it, which is something that we saw in the game versus Lazio, versus what's like you gotta like cannon it when you're like in the box. I don't understand. So one of the things that come to mind is that you remember where Theo and Giroud, they had a bit of confusion, and essentially instead of just trying to tap it into the goal, they kicked it over the crossbar. I'm sorry, Giroud, and I think that he deserves a lot of praise for last night's game. But at his level, I think he should know whether he should be like, oh, should I try to really blast this in, or should I try, angle it a bit more, because he had the space, and I know there's a bit of confusion with Theo. So I didn't get that, and yeah, it was one of those games where when we tried to go for the Liao dependency, it doesn't seem to work. They knew what to do. They knew the runs that Liao was going to make. They knew which tactical fouls to make on Liao to really break up the play. So I think that was something that we should have expected, but I don't think Pioli has enough in his game plan to really have enough devise something that's to counter that. And yeah, having Pobega there really isn't helping. We would know that Pobega, and I don't want to shit on the kid because, yeah, we know that there's levels to this game, but I don't think this is the sort of game for Pobega. Purely as what happened last night, I think he does see now Pobega as sort of plays like close out games. But to start, he gambled and it really didn't work. We should have had a bit more of creative outlet. Rangers could have been where Pobega was. Adley would have been there, having more creative. And I think when Adley did come on, we did have a bit more of the chances. One chance that did come to mind, actually, the one that Chukwueze had. I think it was one-on-one with the keeper, I think, in the last 10 minutes. So those are the sort of chances that you would say that, I think that could have been the moment that at least winning 1-0 would have meant the world to us. Because, yeah, as you mentioned, Shane, having the 3 points might have been our top of the table. And the quicker that we move to the knockout stages, the better it is also for our Scudetto push. Because then we can say that, we don't really need to win this game. Pobega can start, yeah? So I don't care if Pobega starts against PSG because we're already through to the knockout. Because that's why we need to really pick up points in these early games. Because now, yeah, if had we won against Newcastle, had we won um, against Dortmund, we wouldn't be worried about going to Paris and trying to pick up 3 points against PSG because we could have rotated that and said like, okay, we'll beat them at home and we'll focus on Juve, focus on Napoli. Then we would have been in such good position, guys. I mean, that's the big difference there. I mean, what do you think, John? I mean, do you think that that game was perfectly winnable had a few changes actually had been made to what Pioli did?
So right. So I've got points that I agree with both of you on. First of all, the starting lineup is a big deal, is a big problem for me. Let's just say we've seen Adli come on when Krunic got injured, and we've seen him grow and spend more minutes on the pitch, and we've seen what he's capable of doing from the central midfield position. So when you come up against Borussia Dortmund after such an excellent game as the Lazio game, you do not need to be going scared against Dortmund, in my opinion. And I think Pioli panicked, and I think he put Reinders in the wrong place. He put Reinders in the middle, and then he put Pobega on the left. That's completely wrong. I mean, it's completely wrong. If you want to ask about one player who's more defensive than the other, and more of a muscular build, you put Pobega in the middle if you're going to try that approach. But he did not. So that's the first problem I have with it. So on off the kickoff, I was thinking, what's he hoping to get? It looks like he's hoping to get a 0-0. That's what it looked like to me, and to kind of squeeze one. But I don't understand. If you've got a player who's been in very good form, and we've just come off an excellent game against Lazio, why are you putting him on the bench and putting a player in the wrong position in the center who doesn't belong there? That's where I am. You know, guys, I just think sometimes Pioli overthinks things, and he likes to invent positions for players where they've never played there before or have no business being in. And I think that was really the, what's the word, like the seed to that 0-0 result. He basically was always going to put us in trouble. Now, and Shane, I completely agree with you. Leao was not the best player of the match. It was Tomori, and Tomori, because he had to do quite a lot of work. I mean, you've got to say that Calabria, he was left absolutely rinsed by this guy Milan on the left side of Borussia Dortmund. He was, you know, I couldn't. I was thinking West Florenzi actually. Please bring in Florenzi because this is very, very risky. Now, back to a point that you made, Husni. You never sniff at a 0-0. It's still a point. It's still a point on the board. And if you look at the league table in the Champions League, you've got Newcastle on 4, PSG on 3, us on 2, Borussia on 1. So all 4 teams can absolutely do a lot of damage still. We can all still go through. But against Newcastle, we had that game in total control. We should have scored. And this is a theme that's starting to become quite difficult now. Our lack of confidence in front of goal, a lack of like just care in front of goal. Actually, if you've got a simple way of finishing a goal, finish it. Don't try and do flicks. Don't. I mean, you're right about Chucky. You just have to dink it over the keeper. You try to basically, you know, yeah. So we've got a few problems coming on now. You've got, I mean, guys, Newcastle won 4-1 at home. So you look at their league form as well. Since they played us, they have improved. And so the concern is, yes, we absolutely bossed the game, but the concern is they are growing as a team. They are getting better as a team. So don't expect that we're going to go to their stadium and boss them in the same way that we did at home. I really think it's going to be a much harder game than that. So the PSG games back to back are quite crucial. And my biggest concern is that Pioli is going to invent something that doesn't need to be invented. We know what's necessary. we're probably going to have Ruben Loftus-Cheek back. We're probably going to have Krunic as a choice back, and we're probably. I'm just trying to think. Is there any other players that might come back, guys? Can you think of any other players that might come back by then?
Kalulu, maybe?
Maybe. That would be my choice at right back. Would be Kalulu, Shane, against PSG. I would not go and put Calabria up against Mbappe. I think that's almost funny.
He
Your risk,
needs, you know what we did against Napoli last season, which worked
yes.
quite well. Where we had, so I think it was in the Champions League, we had Calabria against Kvaratskhelia. Yeah, that one. That guy.
Bavaria,
Yeah, Kvara, right? So we had Calabria against him, but what you also had was Krunic actually tracking back to help.
Mm,
That's the only thing that could potentially work for me. If we do have Calabria, because I don't even think having Kalulu against Mbappe is going to be something that's, I just think it's going to be the power of Mbappe that's, basically going to rinse us. But I
mm,
think what I'm hoping for, and this is where it's getting a bit dangerous for me now, I could see Mbappe doing quite a lot of damage and getting in behind us and scoring a goal or two, but I can't see us scoring the same amount. Like if we were banging goals in, I wouldn't be too concerned because I would kind of say, well, all we have to do is, finish a goal ahead of them, right? Obviously, it's all we need to do. The problem is we can't score, even if it's
yeah,
against PSG. So, I mean, what do? It's like we
yeah.
have to shut out PSG. And for all my talk about PSG, again, French league, it's not great. It's along the same lines as the German league. To be honest, German league is a bit better. But the
Mm,
overall French league, it's not great. PSG are in a time of crisis. I'm just
mm.
hoping that Mbappe does us a huge favor, because I know like he's a
I
Milan
guess injured.
supporter, right? Well, I'm I'm hoping he just kind of like gets injured, or or he just kind of doesn't show up because he's like, well, I don't want to be here anyway. I'm only here for the cash. So, like that's the best thing we can hope for. But
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, PSG, Shane, PSG are a hot mess of a team. There's no, don't skirt around the subject. They
Mm,
are a hot mess of a team, and they're absolutely beatable.
mm.
The thing is, they've got individual talent, and they can potentially do a lot of damage. Didn't they get that kid from Barcelona as well? I'm just trying. What's his name, guys? A young kid from Barcelona who's not yet scored a Champions League goal, if I remember correctly.
I can't. I know who you're talking about, and I can't
You know what I'm
remember.
talking about. Yeah, let me just try and see if I can see where he is. So PSG,
But
let's see their lineup.
Dembele.
yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
Mm.
is he
yes,
still a
that's
kid?
right.
I'm sorry, I really lost me there when you said kid. I'm like, is he
No,
like
Yeah,
but
late
he's not,
20s?
he's not that old. No, he's not. Is he? I thought he was only like
mm,
23, 24.
How is he?
Dembele, age 26
He's
actually. Yeah,
26.
no,
Oh,
he's
Yeah.
not.
not
He's
even
not a
younger.
kid. Okay, all right, he looks like a kid.
Mm.
But yeah, so Dembele, who's he will score. He at some point he will score. I just don't want him to be us. And so I don't want Pioli to play a high line. That's a big mistake. I do not leave Chow exposed that way on that side. But at least Tomori's
You,
back. Let's
you
hope he
know,
doesn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know what he'd end up doing though? He'll end up
Mm,
starting Kier
no,
because
no,
he'll
he
go
won't.
like, "Oh, we need someone with experience, so I'm going to start Kier and let poor Kier get mauled by Mbappe." Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you know what? It's the thing, Shane. It's like you're not putting it past our manager to do something like that. It's such a
mm,
weird. Oh, Andon's
I
here.
end up.
mm.
Hello,
Yeah.
Andon.
And then I was gone, man. But yeah, sorry. So I was just saying. So and then we were just kind
Wait
of
a
recapping.
second.
No worries. So we were talking about the Dortmund game. There's not really a huge amount to talk about from it in terms of scoreline. But what are
No,
your when he's online?
is he online?
Well, okay,
Yeah,
can you hear me now?
yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
My headset. How are you doing, guys?
Good man. How are you
Good,
doing?
good.
Good, good. Just watching the Lazio game.
Oh yeah, what's the score of that actually?
Lazio is 2-0 up. CDK scored an own goal.
Oh,
He's well.
damn.
Of
To
all
be
the players,
honest, people were complaining that he wasn't scoring enough.
Ah, you.
Now he's
So
scoring every game.
he's scoring sometimes for his own team. Yeah. Oh no. Uh,
Mate.
Still want him to do well though.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, Andon, we were just saying that the lineup against Dortmund was a little bit scared, and Pobega was in a weird position. Reindeers was not in the right position. We had played well in the previous game. So, what's your opinion on how we set up against Dortmund?
I mean, again, the setup was not as bad, but the problem we had is with the finishing. We just couldn't even hit the goal or hit the post or something like that. We need to work. Even yesterday, we don't have any more problems, defensive problems, or controlling the game. We have problems in the later in the final third. I don't know what seems to be the problem, but I hope during the international break Pioli can work on it because even yesterday sometimes he makes some stupid decisions. He sometimes the funny thing about Pioli sometimes he waits too much and sometimes he goes too early. He doesn't have that middle ground where you can say okay now it's the time. And again, the thing is, a lot of people don't understand. Against Borussia, we had a midfield that barely even played once together. That
Yes,
that midfield
say
was
it, Andon.
completely new. We're even lucky that we didn't lose the game with that kind of a midfield. Any other team, if they took out a midfield like that was their time playing together first time playing together, and still managed somehow not to be dominated into the game, not to lose into the game. And what people don't understand, Borussia Dortmund hasn't lost a game at home for over 2 years. Even Manchester City, the team that won last season, didn't win there. And actually, we had the chance to win it. It's not like we were dominated; we just couldn't convert the chances. Either that is gonna bite us in the ass and we're gonna drop out from the Champions League group, or maybe it will serve us to get better, and especially after yesterday victory, can give them some motivation because they can do better and they have to do better.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Absolutely
It's a fair
agreed.
point. And I think then moving on from that, then because we obviously can't score in the UCL for whatever
By the
reason.
way, Shane, by the
Hmm.
way, we haven't scored in the UCL in the last 4 games.
Yeah,
Just think about it, yeah?
Yeah. 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 Okay. Fair enough. But to be fair though, the Newcastle game I think was a bit of an outlier, right? Because I mean, if we played that game, let's say we played them 10 times in a row, the rest of the 9 times we'd win the game.
You
Like
hope.
judging on the performance, I'm saying, because it's like literally Newcastle had no answer to us. I have no idea, and I've no idea how Eddie Howe said, well, with a bit of luck we would have won the game. It's like, how much more luck do you need? You were literally
Yeah.
outplayed for most of the game, and you came away with a result. I don't get what he's saying, but anyway. So yeah, so moving on. So this one was on yesterday. So this is the Genoa game. This is a bit more positive. Not without its problems though, which we'll cover in a moment. But I think okay. So this is an interesting thing about football games. It can be useless for 85 minutes, which this game was. It was boring. It was awful to watch for me, right? I don't know if you guys agree, but for me, it was useless. Then, through interesting pass by Musa from the right side, passed it to Pulisic, who looked like he'd actually, in some replays, he'd looked like he might have handled it to control it, but then he spun, shot it, scored. So, 87th minute, so we were 1-0 up. And then after that, of course, Mike Mignon gets himself sent off for basically, trying to knee a guy in the face. So that was interesting. But I guess take away from that game, John. What did you think of the result? What did you think of the game?
Yeah, so the lineup was interesting. I think everybody wanted to see a lot of rotation. And I don't think anybody would complain that we've got a squad, we might as well use it. Seeing Jovic up front, and I remember very clearly I think a lot of people, me included, was saying it's really important that because of the level of rotation here, if it doesn't work, it's important for Pioli to be proactive early. And so, what I was particularly keeping an eye on was Jovic in the way that Genoa were defending against us, and Jovic was really just ineffective. Now, seeing Okafor on the left, I remember at halftime thinking, what we need is Okafor in the middle with his pace. He's been scoring goals. He's confident, and we need either Pulisic or Leao on the left. Adley's doing well. He's finding the flanks. Give them that to have a go at. Take Jovic out because Jovic was just as static. It would make no difference whether you have Jovic or Giroud in that particular match. And Pioli shocked the hell out of me at half time by taking out, Andon, you said sometimes you make subs too early and subs too late.
Yeah,
I did not understand why he did what he did. He went to a 4-4-2, thinking two non-mobile strikers up the top, and he almost cost us the game doing that. And there's a comment I want to make later on, but I've got to say, we haven't seen Jovic gradually get into games this season, have we, guys? We have not. And we're saying about Adley, oh, Pioli slowly getting him into games, is getting more and more minutes. And yet Jovic played the full game. It doesn't make sense. If someone is not performing, what you have to do is do something about it. Because we were playing, in my opinion, for 90 minutes, we played 10v11. Oh, fire away, Andon, Husni, or Shane.
So just a quick one on that because I want to mention this. I think it's important. So Okafor, for the most part, yesterday looked, even though he was playing on the left wing, he didn't really look like he was being effective, right? So knowing that you have a player that can, play quite well in a central position, right? Knowing that you have Leao on the bench, and knowing that Okafor is a bit more proactive in trying to come back and get the ball compared to Jovic, for me, I think it would have made sense that, you know, Jovic came off, Okafor moved into the centre a bit more, and then Leao went on. And a bit earlier, because I don't think Jovic is that type of player to be kind of proactive. He seems more like a predator, where he's kind of waiting in the box, just trying to feed off of balls if they're sent into him, trying to score. But that wasn't that type of game, to be honest. So I thought that was a bit interesting, I guess, tactically. But what did you think of the game? I guess, Husni, like, any points?
Yeah, agree. It's just that in terms of what my approach would have been slightly different. Um, they're doing the low block. Yeah, I thought that they were putting every player they could behind the ball and essentially trying to starve us out of space. But there were moments where they were coming at us, and when we recovered the ball, because yeah, again, credit to Tomori and Chow, and also Adley at some moments they also recovered the ball. We weren't quick enough in transition, so we actually allowed them again to get back in position, and then it became a lot of the okay, pass left, pass right, try to find space, cross it in there. I mean, we had a lot of possession, but I don't think that is where we excel. We need to, and we have the players to do this. If we're able to take them on the counter, we're able to use the speed of. I know Liao didn't start, but Okafor himself isn't a slow player. If he could have actually got the ball quickly and had not as quick as a darting Liao run, but use that space as an advantage, and we would have made the counter attack. It would have been different. And there were moments in the game where I thought that this those could have been defining moments. If you guys remember early in the game, is that Chukwueze, he actually had that cross, and I don't know why Okafor took such a heavy touch to it. He could have tapped it into the goal, and that could have been it essentially. Yeah, another 1-0 for the get go without all the drama. So I think this is something that Pioli, it's not a new situation, but Pioli still needs to work on. Is that okay? If these teams set up in this way, then what do we need to do? Because we have a limited number of players. And I agree with you guys. Is that Jovic? I thought Jovic wasn't ready. Yeah. Usually he would have been you gradually get the minutes, and after maybe like 6 or 7 games, only then he would have had a start, and not for a full 90, but maybe for like 60, 60, 70th minute mark where Pioli has his magic minute to use the subs. That could have been it. But as we moved on, then it turned into desperate hour. Giroud in, and I said it before the game. We shouldn't have to meet these players against Genoa. Genoa is perfectly beatable. They're not, fighting for the Scudetto like us. So they've lost games along the way. But we couldn't really pull out that moment of quality from our team B. You could say that. I mean, and do you agree? I mean, that moment of quality could have definitely changed the game early on.
I mean, there are a couple of factors. First of all, Pioli does what Pioli does best, confuses the players all the time. He just goes to the one extreme to the next. I understand, yes, rotations are needed, and I'm happy that we're doing rotations, but completely rotating the full front three, we're just not ready at that stage to be comfortable to rotate them as much. And plus, Jovic has barely played like 10, 15 minutes per game, and now all of a sudden give him 90 minutes. There is no sense in that. And another thing, this game has banter era Milan all over it since minute one till the end, from the style of play to how the game ended as well. Even during the game, the substitution Pioli made, change of formation, everything was prime banter era Milan. Again, first of all, okay, he started with what he started. I was expecting a change in the half, but not changing both Okafor and Chukwueze and leaving Jovic. Because okay, I understand it's not Jovic's fault because what we do usually right now, we just go on the flanks and cross balls into the box. We don't have that type of a striker in Jovic to do that. We don't try to go central a little bit to do 1-2 passes to try to get to him like that because Jovic was never like that number 9 that scores goals from crosses and stuff like that. He's good with his feet. He knows how to play with the ball. Just nobody gave him the ball. And in the second half, he improved. He got a little bit of the ball, but again, it was ineffective. No matter what he did, ineffective. Besides that one shot he had, he was blocked. It would have been a beautiful goal, but it was blocked. And again, uh, for example, I'm pretty mad. He's doing to Chukwueze what he did to CDK last season. He's doing the same exact thing. And after that, we're gonna complain. Listen, the guy didn't perform. Yes, he didn't perform because Pioli doesn't know how to manage him. There was no need taking him out at halftime. Chukwueze didn't play as much, so he wasn't tired to be tired. He wasn't even bad in the first half. He was the only one that was doing something. He was the only one that was creating something. So taking him off at the halftime made zero sense. And after that, for example, changing the formation, as John said, with two strikers, two same immobile strikers that cannot do thing, and still going over the same crossing shows you that as a coach you have no idea what are you doing. You just have no idea what you're doing. Luckily, in the 87th minute, one of the crosses connected, and luckily Pulisic knew what to do with the ball. It was a beautiful control of the ball, beautiful spin, beautiful goal. But again, after that goal, we do what we usually do the best: make our job more difficult than it's supposed to do. It was an unnecessary red card. It wasn't Mike's fault because he was let down by, I think it was Chow and Bartasagi. They let Haps overrun them, so Magnan had no other choice but to do what he did. He knocked out two Bologna players, and actually, I was like,
Actually knocked him out. He was just,
yeah,
I think, a couple of inches more and he would have hit him straight in the face. It was great to see.
yeah,
Like,
and
but
that free kick that Bologna took, it was 90% a goal. We just were lucky that it hit the post. And
Right. So, Andon, what I said was we're a crossbar width away from having a very different conversation today.
yes,
And that's something that I think a lot of the fans have to just take a seat back. Yeah, we've got the points, but we were that far away from having a very different conversation about that game. It
of
was
course,
John, what I was thinking at that moment, I was thinking is like, how can you be an atheist and watch the game? Because there has to be a God in that moment, right? Giroud in goal, and they had a free kick from a good position, by the way. And defensively, we were trying to block off the entire goal, so like, really trying to help out Giroud. And we
yeah,
hit
I
the
mean,
crossbar.
also
Can you
also
believe it?
also from what Pioli said, the plan was first Pulisic to be on goal but he chose
Oh,
Giroud because he's higher or something like that. And after the free kick, that double double save from Giroud is something that you don't see even from goalkeepers. It was sloppy, it was, but he did the job well. I don't know if you guys saw. I sent it to the chat as well. Uh, on the AC Milan official website, they put Giroud as a goalkeeper. So this is this is this is kind of a game, but also what's important, this kind of games also wins you championship. Even when you play for a championship, it's important in the end to win these kind of games. Because also when we won the Scudetto, we won like 2 3 games like this, winning the points at the last minute, especially against Lazio. What was other one we had when Castillejo scored for 3-2? I don't know. It was some
Verona or
Warriors.
something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was
he scored as well. So it's important, the start is important, the points are important, but Pioli needs to stop confusing the players. This team hasn't even reached half of its potential that it has, because we have almost a full rotation, and we still got a victory, something that would not happen last season. But he needs to learn how to manage the players properly. Even Adley had a couple, but yesterday was Adley's worst game since he played. So that's why he needs to learn a little bit. I don't know what he's doing, but he's telling them either he's putting too much pressure on them or fucking up their game time. He needs to work on that in order for us as a team to grow even further. Because now we have a hell of a schedule. Against Juventus, we won't have Mike or Teo, which will be very difficult, but Sportiolo proved he can get the job done. After that, we have PSG, and if we lose the game against PSG, I would say give up on the Champions League. Don't bother with it. Fully focus on the league, because we cannot do nothing in the Champions League anyway. But let's see what's going to happen after it. It's very important how many players will get injured during the international break, because we don't have luck with that. Usually, one or two key players always get injured.
There's a
Hmm.
question I have to ask you, Andon, because you mentioned his name, yeah? Bartasaki. I want to ask you in terms of his assimilation or how he's doing within the team based on the minutes that you've seen. Do you think he's getting more opportunities with the Theo being out and, with the heavy congestion? Or do you think it will be Calabria on the right and then they'll push Florenzi to the left?
It will be Calabria on the right, Florenzi on the left. This is what I'm seeing.
Okay.
I don't think Pioli will give chance to Bartasagi in the derby, although I think he should. But also, he's confusing the boy, playing him as center back, playing him as left back. Just choose a position for him. Don't play him in both positions, because yesterday he was playing as an extra center back. I think he wasn't playing as a left back. So he needs to learn, and he needs to give him position. Give him the left back. Give him Play him against Juventus. He can get the job done, because Juventus are not that dangerous to have that many problems. They're dangerous from set pieces, but other in gameplay they play a very boring game. So give him the time. This is how you build up players. This is how you grow them. This is how you know either they are made for the big stage or they're just never gonna be a player out of him. But again, Pioli will do what Pioli does. Columbia on the right and Florenzi on the left.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think, guys, that because I did listen to Pioli's post game interview, and he said the players that are going to come back after the internationals, and he first name that he came up with was Krunic, and then he said Ruben Loftus Cheek, and then I think he might have said Kalulu, but I'm not sure he said Kalulu. Now, this is what I think he will do. If Krunic is available and Ruben Loftus Cheek is available, I think Adley goes back to the bench and he puts Krunic in that position. Musa sits, and then, as you said, we'll see Calabria on the right. And actually, my opinion is that the Juve game is the easiest game that's coming up for us, guys. It's the games after that that are brutal. We 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 are losing. We don't have Theo. We don't have Manyan. I really hate that, but I
We don't have
think
Husni, no.
we don't have
No, no.
Husni. Hasni's our Theo. He got too many yellow cards, mate.
He's been carded,
Um,
I'm
man.
sorry, I'm back.
um,
It's the connection.
but
Mm.
yeah, I think Juve is our easiest game coming up. After that, it's a brutal schedule, and I genuinely think we've seen the last of Adley for a while, and I hate saying that because I'm one of the biggest Adley fans out there, And on to your point, against Genoa, in that first half, the only outlet that Adley could find was Chukwueze on the right. He kept finding him, and Chukwueze kept going and having a run. But there was no, Jovic was just not in the right position when the ball was fired in. There wasn't enough in the middle for him. So having taken him off at half time was a stupid decision in my mind, really ridiculous. But as we go forward, I think Adley sits on the bench and he will literally only be a sub. And I know, Husni, you'll be furious about that. But I think Pioli's so predictable that he will not play players who have demonstrated their worth in their correct position. He will just invent something in his head and just carry on that way because that's just what he does.
I think
Um,
so. I think you'll see a bit more of Adley, right? But with the way I see him being played is you
five
won't be
minutes.
seeing him. No,
Yeah,
so yeah, no, but you won't be seeing him as like first choice versus someone against, like let's say Juventus,
yeah.
right? You're never gonna see that. And as much as people might like it, I can understand it from Pioli's perspective because while Adley is very good at kind of spraying balls left, right, and center, right, there is also the potential of losing possession, right? Pioli doesn't like that. He wants a safe pair of hands, so he'll choose Krunic, who's kind of boring,
Shane,
pass it left,
Shane,
pass right, right.
Shane, wait.
Hmm.
But do you put Pobega ahead of him?
No, no, definitely not. And this
For
is what I
God's
was just
sake,
about to say.
look at the Dortmund game.
No, and this is what I was just about to say. I think Adley's done comfortably enough for me now to be able to be picked over Pobega. I think Pobega and Calabria are two very similar players in that they're very limited. They should not be looking. They should well. Pobega, I will give him a bit of leeway because he is still relatively young and he's come up through the youth ranks. Calabria is kind of getting to the stage where he should be on the peak of his form and he's actually regressing. So we need to be looking for a new right back. But yeah, to be honest, those two guys, I'm just not sold on either of them. I think Calabria is just a big problem for me. Uh, I not
On
only
that
do
midfield,
I know why he's playing for us, right? Because we didn't get a functional right back to actually take his place. But the fact that he's a captain for us, and you can even tell by the way that he plays, there's no leadership material about this guy. We have Moyne
yeah.
Yen. I'm not convinced that Teo should be a captain because I think some of the things he does, he's very irresponsible, just like the card last night. And some of his behavior shouldn't be.
Oh,
It's like when I think of a captain, I think of
great
like
point.
Paolo Maldini, right?
Hmm.
He was humble, right? And he doesn't do the stuff that Teo does. So
Hmm.
I'm just not convinced that Teo should be a captain. But
Eight
mine, yeah.
games.
Hmm,
8 games we've played.
hmm,
5 yellow cards, Theo, has
yeah,
already accumulated. That's something we have to talk about, Shane. You're
yeah,
absolutely right. That's not captain material.
no.
No. And everybody will be like, oh, I've seen Inter fans saying, hate that guy. He's the worst. Atalanta fans hate him. But
And
that's
that's
great for
why I
us.
think a lot of Milan fans love him. That's why I love him because
Yes.
he gets under people's skin. But the thing is getting under people's skin. But then it's kind of usually people that do that. It depends on well, okay, are they also a leader? And the
No.
way I see Theo, so in some games he disappears and he kind of gets frustrated.
No, but
Yeah.
that's the thing, Shane, and we
Um,
spoke about this. Yeah, so in the
yeah,
4-3-3 system, I think we need more of a defender than what Theo has been in the 4-2-3-1.
yeah.
So if Florenzi, I know he can do a left back, but I haven't seen him enough in that position. If he can be more of that left back that better at defending and with occasional crosses into the box or setting up those plays, I think that's a lot more valuable at this point of time.
True.
Because let's face it, I don't remember the
Mm.
last time he's been on the score sheet this season. I think he
No,
has, by the way.
no, and this is what I think. Like I think people are a bit overly concerned about Theo being missing for the Juve game, and I don't understand why. Because this season so far, he hasn't ran forward very much, right? So he hasn't kind of offered a lot on that side of his game. So he's been like more reserved and defensive, right? But the thing is, I think Florenzi can do that job, adequately. So it's not like we're going to be. It's not like we should be expecting Florenzi to basically go coast to coast and score a goal. But we're not seeing Teo do that either. So it's not really a huge lack in what the two players are offering this season. Sportiello is an okay replacement for Maignan. He's done quite well so far when he's been called upon. So it's not like that's life changing either. So I think because I'm kind of noticing it's like a lot of people are kind of going, oh man, we're not going to beat Juve, and it's like, well, Juve aren't the
No, no,
same
no, no.
animal that it used to be.
We have to beat Juve,
Yeah,
guys. We have to beat Juve. They're horrendous. It doesn't matter if we haven't got Magnan and Theo, honestly. But I do agree on the point that had Bartesaghi been blooded better, I think he would have been a genuine option for us at left back. He's young, but again, I don't care about age. I think if someone's good enough, is they're good enough, but they have to be introduced properly. And even yesterday, he comes on with how many minutes left? He came on for like 5. It was something silly like that. I just and in the wrong and in a weird position as well. Just God, we have to beat Juve. Let's just go back to that. We have to beat Juve. I think harder games coming up. I generally think that Juve, they shouldn't have enough for us. They simply shouldn't. Um, I just think the other games is where the real, I'm gonna say the shit's gonna hit the fan in the other games because if Pioli goes back to his fearful lineups or phantom lineups that have never played together before against PSG, we're gonna get chewed up alive. Um, and we got Napoli as well. Is that right?
I think they're in December
Yeah, after
sometime,
PSG,
aren't
yeah.
they?
Yeah.
So we've got
I think they're
Juve,
in December.
PSG. Hang on, Juve, PSG, and then
Is it
Napoli.
Lecce? I thought it was Lecce.
No, I think we have Napoli after PSG.
You're joking me. Really?
See,
Yeah. Yeah.
Who let this happen?
who
This
who
is
let this
awful.
happen?
UEFA.
This is awful. Hold on. So let me just confirm if that's correct.
I'm
So
gonna go to match day 10. Match day 10 is Napoli Milan. Napoli at home against Milan. Yeah, it's after Juve.
well, that's
Juve,
good.
PSG, Napoli.
I mean, because if you think about it this way, if something miraculous happens, and if we did win those two games, we've literally just got far easier games for months in the league
Or
where you can rotate the hell out of it.
the other option is
Yeah, yeah.
we all have a conversation visiting Pioli's
Well,
existence at the
because
end of October.
you know what I don't want to happen, because it's like what Andon said earlier. He's like, well, if if we don't win against PSG, right, and let's say we have a choice of finishing third in the Champions League group
No,
and then going into the Euro, it's like at that point I'm kind of going, Pioli, put out the Primavera guys. If there's one game left in
no,
the
don't do
UCL,
that. They'll beat them.
no, I'd literally I'd put out the Primavera guys, because you do not want to be like spending time in that
The
tournament.
Primavera guys will beat PSG home and away. They're on
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Primavera
true.
probably make it to the semi-final of
They
of the
probably
youth
play
league. That's
better,
the
man.
Yeah,
thing.
that's true.
Did you see that Zeroli scissor kick?
Oh, I
No,
did.
I didn't
Today.
know.
I
I
did.
sent it in the group. I'm gonna send it one
Okay,
time. He scored 2 goals today, and one was scissor kick.
there you have. Jeez, man.
There's some great talent coming out of that, man. I'm like so excited. But aren't like Dortmund in for him? I'm sure
I
Dortmund
think
sent
yeah,
feelers out. Dortmund and Man City or something like
yeah.
that. So when you have Man
Wow.
City coming after you products, you must be doing something right. And especially when Abate is your manager, you
Yeah.
definitely must be like a very talented player, because I mean Abate managing something. And we know
Dude,
he's going to end up as our manager in like 2 years' time anyway, when Pioli gets if Pioli gets the
two
fire in or
years
something.
time. You think 2 more years of Pioli?
Well, yeah, I know, I know. It's look, it is what it is, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
so. Because I think he is somehow getting results, so you got to give him that in the league.
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I guess that kind of recaps it. because I'm getting hungry as well. Andon,
Yeah.
thank you very much for joining, man. It's
Thank you for
always a
having me.
pleasure
Thanks, Andon.
Thanks, Andon.
talking facts and talking sense, and that's great, man. That's what we need. So I just guess this brings it to a close. I'm off to get some lunch in, and let's recap maybe next week or the week after if we have something to talk about. And
How many international games have we got, guys?
two, yeah.
Two.
So next game we play is around the 27, 28, something like that.
So the Juve game is the 22nd of October.
Oh, 22nd, sorry, yeah.
22nd.
Gio's joined the chat. He wants to hear about the Primavera.
Oh, Gio on the Primavera. Oh,
Of
Gio.
course, Gio wants to talk about Primavera.
Yeah, we'll put in the Primavera slot. The problem is with that is I then have to spend time actually looking at the Primavera games because every time I see Abate, I get PTSD about the banter era, and that's why I don't like watching it. Anyway,
all right, guys.
Thanks very much for joining, everyone. Take
Forza
care.
Milan.
Take care.
Forza Milan, everyone. See ya.
Adios.
Italia!